Hello everyone, I am Mr. Rain and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while and I'm going to be making a bit of a somber video. This is essentially going to be my final thoughts on Apex Legends. And it's not a good final thoughts. Essentially, I'm done playing the game, I'm tired of it, and there's nothing that the devs can really do to make me want to come back. Not that they should, not that they need to, just my opinions as to why I lost all interest in this game. And a lot of it started in season 3, and all the changes they made with season 3. And of course, everything that you can think of when it came to people being salty, I'm on the bandwagon with pretty much all of those changes. You know, I don't like the charge rifle, I don't like the new map layout. I like the new areas in the map, but I don't like the way that they're pieced together. I don't like the way that they made the meta where everyone has to use a sniper now because of how big the map is, and just a number of other small inconveniences and things that just never meshed with me from the start of when the game first came out. Now World's Edge. When the game first came out on Kings Canyon, it was a lot of fun because it was a very condensed map, especially for a battle royale, and that's one of the things that I loved about it. It was if for all intents and purposes, when Apex Legends first came out, it was an anti-battle royale. It was an anti-battle royale. And what I mean by that is that the map wasn't huge, the loot was scarce, and you didn't have to wait a year to go into a fight. Every fight that you went to was basically going to be one after the other, and sometimes a lot, and most times a lot sooner than you want,
I'm dead.
and a lot sooner than you expect.
They can go
The game moved really quick, unlike most battle royales. Or in any case, it typically feels like it moves quick. Again, unlike most battle royales, most popular battle royales. And uh, that's really the reasons why that I loved the game when it first came out, because it didn't feel like a battle royale. It felt like I was just playing a large game, a large map, a large game. It still was a battle royale, but it didn't have a lot of the grievances that came with playing a battle royale. Snipers were still viable on Kings Canyon, but they weren't always necessary, especially on most end rings. You were more at a disadvantage if you were holding onto a sniper rifle at that time. And I can't say the same thing when it comes to World's Edge because it's built for primarily sniper fire and DMR and long range combat. And that's the thing that I don't like. I don't it's and
white armor.
for a battle royale, I don't like having to play the way that I have to make it work in this game for World's Edge. And like I'm trying to make it where I'm talking about the grievances that I have from now as to season 3 and season 4, and then going backwards into like just the core stuff of the game that I didn't really like. So like I didn't like the charge rifle. I don't like the new map and the way that's laid out. I like the areas of the maps. I don't like how they're pieced together. And then I don't like how everything is designed around having to use a sniper rifle of some sort,
Yeah, no, it's fine.
because if you don't, you're at a severe disadvantage. It was even to a point where even the scout was more of a consistent weapon to use than the R301, which just should never be the case. I feel that if you're going to really snipe, that you have a play style that allows you to snipe, and that that you're not that you have to be an aggressive sniper, but that know that
Hold on, I can give
you're
this.
never going to be safe sniping. You're always going to be at somewhat of a disadvantage, even if you have the range advantage. From going from that, I can now just talk about the other things that I didn't like about the game. I don't like the ever-changing meta that the game has, where it never feels fulfilling.
Here.
It never feels like I'm learning the game, I'm getting better at it, and I have a better understanding of how everything works. And I know some of that does hold true to this game, but then half of it gets thrown out in the next season when they decide that they're going to change the meta. A lot of people were using the scouts in season 3 because the scout was a really good weapon, and now they nerfed the scout, so now no one's using the scout. And so everyone who spent countless hours practicing the scout, playing with the weapon and learning it and getting better at it, now it's all thrown out the window. The same thing can be said for pretty much every gun that the developers have touched. And another one, including that one, would be the R99. I know a lot of people complain about the R99 being too powerful, and I agree. But the only reason why it's too powerful is because there's no other gun like it in the game. There's no other gun like the R99 in the game, and you wonder why it's overpowered.
Yeah.
It has the fastest rate of fire,
Yeah,
and it's going to be very consistent in regards to its damage. So, unless you make the gun almost useless, like like the RE45 or like any other early game weapon, then you're not really going to ever get rid of it being overpowered or feeling overpowered because it's just dealing way more damage in speed because of its rate of fire than everything else. You only have two guns that rely on its rate of fire to deal a lot of damage, and that's the R99 and the Prowler, and which makes sense because they're the SMGs.
I'll take the barrel
But
stabilizer.
that's it. You only have two SMGs to choose from, and then everything else are assault rifles, and you only have three assault rifles that are full auto, being Flatline, the R301, and Havoc. They did bring in the L-Star as well, if you want to count that one. But you don't really have a whole lot of weapons to choose from that are hard counters to the R99. And the ones that are hard counters, like the Peacekeeper, they're not everyone's playstyle. And I feel like that's the issue with this game. It just doesn't account for the playstyle that everyone's going to have. It's not going to. It's not that it should key into everyone's.
No, because
Not
it'll
that
overheat.
the meta should key into one specific playstyle, but that meta should be able to make every playstyle somewhat viable. And I feel like it doesn't do that.
There's your 301.
I feel that if you're going to use the 301, that's best to be used in mid range. But the weapon is too inconsistent in full auto to be able to use it at long range. So I don't know what can be done other than just to reduce the recoil and a little bit the rate of fire just so the gun is consistent. The problem is that that would make it even worse of a weapon to use against a R99. And so I don't really understand how this meta is supposed to flow. I just never feel comfortable with it. Every time I play the game, I'm always looking for another gun, another setup. I don't really have a favorite. I'm just looking for something that will do the job more or less based on where I'm at, where the ring is, and
Just went out and boosted
what I have to go through
the beacon.
to get there. So I can't really tell you that I like the game because again, there's just nothing there that makes me feel comfortable. Every time I play, it's like, okay, I gotta look for a gun. I can't say I want to look for this one because then it will never show up. Those are the grievances that I have that just really didn't make me enjoy the game. Uh, but the reasons why, I'll make this last half positive, the reasons why I enjoyed the game and I loved it was because when it first came out, it was essentially an anti Battle Royale. Everything that a modern day Battle Royale was doing, this game was basically doing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It was giving you a smaller map, Kings Canyon. It was allowing you to avoid the ring fairly easily, with a number of different ways and
Oh wow, that one actually
things to
did.
do it with, without having to use like whether it's your character's abilities or whether it's a balloon drop or whether it's a shortcut
There we
somewhere
go.
around the map, anything to like that.
I need heals. I need heals.
I know it may not be original, but the way that it's pulled off in this game, it feels good.
Oh,
And
bro.
Kings Canyon always felt cohesive. There was never a part of the map that felt like it was chunked. It never felt like it was not a part of this map. And I feel that way when it comes to
Directly across from us.
World's Edge. I feel like you got a lot of maps that were thrown in together to create this big map, but then they weren't really pieced all that well. You have a lot of these large open areas with a rock and nothing else really to hide behind, and then you wonder why people don't like the game. And you wonder why everyone's running snipers because of all this open area. And it's not that the game should be cluttered with a ton of buildings and a ton of towns, but that the open areas and passageways that are around this should be changed up or should coincide and be closer together in one way or another So you're not just abandoned out in the open because you got screwed by the ring rotation.
Where to? I don't know.
And that's how I feel this game works now, and I don't like it. When it comes to, I don't know, I was trying to say this wouldn't be positive, but in Kings Canyon that never happened. In Kings Canyon, it was very rare to get screwed over by the ring. The only time you would be if you had to go through a bottlenecked area. But most times, if you were watching the clock and you knew what you were doing and you had your good rotations going,
Probably should
you
start
would never
waiting for
typically have to worry about that. Um, you typically would never have to worry about that. And then in but now it's all about rotation. It's all about placement and positioning and all that. And it's not that it's a bad thing, but you just get like if you go into a town and you don't find a sniper rifle, and now you have to walk through a mile of open area to get to the next building. Let's guess what's going to happen. Someone's going to find you in the open, and they're going to start shooting you with a sniper rifle, and you have no way to defend yourself with. And you have to rely on whatever character's abilities whatever legend abilities you guys have.
no.
And if none of you are running Bangalore, then you don't have smoke. If none of you are running Wraith, then you don't have a portal to get out. And then if you're running Pathfinder, even though that's an okay option for this scenario, you would still be exposed to a lot of gunfire. There's not a safe way to close the distance, I guess, is the best way to say it, for a number of areas on this map. Which is why sniping and using long range weapons is a lot more viable on this map than it has ever been in Apex Legends ever. But like I can go on and just talk about what I like and what I don't like,
I hear
but
shots.
I
South
really
of us.
loved the way that the game was when it first came out.
Yeah.
I loved how it was a short range map. A lot of it was mid to close range combat. You can pick people off with a sniper rifle every now and then, but it wasn't necessary. There was a lot more cover, far more cover, than
4x8.
in Kings Canyon than there is here, and it just felt more fun. It felt it felt more fun in that game, and it felt like even if you knew you were going into a lobby where you're going to have a number of Apex predators running the lobby, you could still drop cold or you can drop warm,
It's closer.
and you can still fight another team that is close to your skill level or a little less than your skill level, maybe a little higher, but it would still be an interesting fight, and it would still be enjoyable. But for me, there's just no enjoyment of this. And, as you're watching this last video, you're seeing this. We're just running around, and we haven't really fought anyone. We fought two squads
Yeah, full squad.
in 10
Full squad.
minutes,
Full squad. Full
which
armor.
to me is just insanely long. It
Alright.
really
We gotta get out of
padded
here.
out the game time. And it's not that this is always the case, but this happens way more often on this map than it has ever did in Kings Canyon. And that's all I can say. This map just doesn't fit my playstyle, and I don't like the ever-changing meta,
Last one right here.
and I just don't like the
Fresh
way the
armor.
game is anymore. I just can't, I just can't. I can't deal. There's too many other games out there that do other things better,
Nice, nice.
and I don't care for battle royales to begin with, but this was the only one that was actually enjoyable for me, and now it's just like every other battle
Can't
royale.
do anything. The other squad's here.
So I'm not gonna have fun editing this. I'm not gonna have fun putting this together, but I wanted to make it, regardless. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and don't expect to see any more Apex Legends footage. If you want to go on my Twitch channel, I do have some clips. I do have some highlights. So if you ever want to see what skill level I have, if any, and you want to see where I kind of stacked up at, you can check those out. But that's it for me. I'm done with the game, and on to the next one.
Yeah, I can get down here. ASAP.
Faster when you're down too.
I doubt it.
That's it.
Nice, bro. That was some good shooting with no fucking optics on that wingman.
Thanks, bro.
Imagine if you had a red dot, you would have fucking slaughtered him.
Yep.
Apex champions.
Too fucking easy.
I feel like I died twice. I'm sorry, but I guess I was pushing a little too hard there.